Hello, folks. Welcome to the Manly Pinterest Tip Show. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. Now, I'm very excited once again to have Alisa Meredith on the show today. We're going to go back and explore deeper one of my most downloaded and popular episodes I've ever had. It's generating leads on Pinterest, and this will be part 2. Alisa is the senior inbound marketer at Scalable Social Media and in-house Pinterest fanatic at Overgo Studio, both HubSpot partner agencies. When she's not pinning, she's creating content, managing social media, editing, auditing websites, and lead generation channels, or creating marketing plans. But mostly, she's pinning. She started back in 1999 as a writer, creating downloadable ebooks before it was a thing, and a website developer, and rather kind of ended up in social media and inbound marketing in 2010. She says the HubSpot content marketing methodology just made everything click, and it's almost too easy to make it work with Pinterest. She doesn't like to be called an expert or guru, so don't do that in anything, but she sure does love Pinterest and what it can do for your business. So, Alisa, thanks so much for being back on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited, very excited. And you guys in the live audience, we'd love for you to head over to manlypinteresttips.com and subscribe to our email community. That way you'll never miss out on a great show like we have with Alisa here today. So, as I'm talking with Alisa, if you have any questions or comments, please enter them in the comment stream, and I'll try to bring them up during the show, and we'll hopefully be able to give you some answers to some of your questions. So, I'm going to dive right in really quick because, you know, Alisa was on the show before, but anyway, I want to get right into it. So, first of all, there's been some of these new changes, Alisa, that Pinterest has been rolling out. You know, first of all, let's talk about gender-based search for some pins. Do you think that's a good or bad idea?
Well, I think it's a good idea, and the reason is that a lot of men have been resistant to Pinterest, as we've discussed many times. So when they sign up, if they don't see that everything looks like it's for women, I think that's a great thing. But I mean, it remains to be seen how well it's really going to work and how cliche it might get as far as limiting what people see that they're interested in. But so far, what I've seen, it looks really good.
Right, and I think it's only on certain categories. I mean, like shoes or watches. It's not just everything. They only have certain categories or interests that they're using. Like, because my question was, you know, I like to cook, and so every once in a while I look for recipes on Pinterest before I do it on Google, and I don't want to just see bar food. You know, I want to see. You know, I don't want mainly bar food. I want to see. You know, if I'm looking for how to do a roast for the, you know, for a family gathering, I want to find that stuff, and that was my concern about gender-based pins. But I believe you can turn them off.
Okay. And so, have you found them to be limiting at all, or has it been all right so far?
It's been all right so far, but I don't know if it's really gone. You know, if I search for Super Bowl food or something, it would be male-heavy kind of stuff. But for just regular recipes, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't found it. My question is for lead generation. How would we use this gender-based search for lead generation? Let's, you know, you talked about last time you had a smoothie client, and you created multiple pins that pointed back to like an email sign-up or something like that. So how would you use gender-based search for lead generation?
Well, I think you have to change your thought process a little bit and think like a guy, right?
Right.
Right. So Pinterest seems to be able to go beyond searching just keywords to actually seeing what is in the images. I'm not sure how they do that, but you'll see things that show up that have no keywords that relate to your search, and yet the image is relevant to you. So I would try more manly type layouts and images and captions. Like if you have a blog post about smoothies, maybe make one image for women and one image for men that would be touting different benefits for each. I just read an article today that Martin Behrman shared about, it was a BuzzFeed article about what is popular with men right now.
Right.
And it mentioned that fashion, hiking, and do-it-yourself kind of are the most popular right now. And beyond that, like the style that men seem to like to pin is a little different from the female users. So what they tend to pin are professionally produced images of products. Whereas with women, we kind of like to see it in the setting where it's being used. The men seem to go more for those product images. So if you're selling a product, make sure you really get a professional photographer, because that's what's working.
Gotcha. So, would you go like, let's say you're doing the smoothie thing. So, would
Mhm.
you go kind of make some general, general pins that you point back to your, your sign up or lead generation capture mechanism, and then would you make some kind of female base, and then like maybe do a more fitness, protein kind of thing for the smoothie? Would you separate out like in three kind of general male and female kind of thing? Would that be, and then test and see what works? Is that how you would probably try to do that?
I would probably do two. I would probably just do general and then for men because what we've been doing for general works with the women.
Okay.
But I would go a step back a little bit from that when planning content and keep in mind that the guys are interested in that do-it-yourself type content.
Mm-hmm.
So the more useful and actionable you can make it, the more appealing it's going to be to men, and then you should stress that in your pin descriptions.
Gotcha. That's a good point. The other major change that I kind of want to talk to you about, and we've kind of talked a little bit on this offline, is that Pinterest has stripped all affiliate links from pins. And it used to be, they took out a long time ago like Amazon affiliate links and stuff like that, but they were still letting a couple companies have these affiliate links.
Yeah.
So many people who are making money with this affiliate systems are really upset. Now, do you think this is a good move by Pinterest? What is your feeling about being stripped out of all affiliate links?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pinterest obviously needs to make money. So, and it doesn't seem to me fair to let some people do it and not allow others if Pinterest isn't making any kind of profit from it, as they should be. So I feel like, hopefully those people who are making money from the affiliate links have some other platform that they own, because really, if you're going to build your business on someone else's platform, you are really taking a big risk.
Right. Well, I know some of these people. I was reading an article. I think it was at DigiDay. They were talking about these influencers who have millions of followers. Some of them are making $8,000 a month off of these affiliate links.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel bad for those people, but you're right. It's building in on somebody else's network, and I know there's a mad scramble right now that they're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to capture this? But you're right. It's Pinterest's product. They can do what they want to.
Yeah.
I kind of have, and they say they're not doing it, but I kind of have a feeling, they're talking about adding a buy button on these Pinterest pins, and I also think they may do something themselves like Amazon does. They have the Amazon affiliates, and you can do things. Do you think that's maybe something down the line?
Well, it certainly could be, and I think the buy button probably is going to happen from what we've read. But yeah, I have another thought.
Well, I mean, I think they're kind of pulling stuff back, and Pinterest is always about the end user.
Yes.
They're always very wanting to make sure the end user, and I tell people this all the time. A lot of times we're talking to marketers and small business owners, but we got to remember we're not the end user for Pinterest.
Right.
And we get upset about stuff.
I know.
But we're not the end user. We're using that platform to hopefully market to our customers or potential leads, but we're really, we can't get too upset about some of this stuff.
That's right. If we want to control it, we should build our own Pinterest.
That's right. Which probably would not be very, very good. The other thing is there was some confusion when this first happened. All this affiliate link stuff went away. Mm-hmm. That they were removing these UTM tracking codes from pins. Right. Can you explain what a UTM tracking code is for people who maybe not know what those are?
Sure, and I think the confusion came from an email that actually came from Pinterest. It wasn't real clear. But a UTM tracking code is, you've probably seen them, even if you don't know what they are. Like at the end of a URL, there would be a question mark, and then UTM_campaign equals. It's really just a way to track how well a certain link is working, and it's something that you set up in Google Analytics.
Gotcha.
It will let you track the click-throughs and conversions. I mean, it's more technical than that, but that's basically how it works. Right.
I mean, they're really pretty easy to set up, but just to confirm, those are, as far as we know, and we tested them, as of this week, those are still working, and they're still letting you track using those in Google those pins in Google Analytics by using the UTM codes.
Yeah, I tried a promoted pin and then I tried just a regular pin, and they both worked.
Great, great. So let's kind of break it down for a small business. Let's say, I always use my local flower shop. Okay, how would a local flower shop use UTM codes for a campaign? What's the best way they could do that?
Okay. Well, first, in creating the campaign, they have to think about what their goals are. But let's say that they had a flower show coming up. So every pin that they created and pinned would have a UTM code, like UTM campaign equals flower show signups, UTM medium equals Pinterest, UTM source equals pin 1. And I know it's really technical, but what it comes down to is you can tell exactly how many signups or how many clicks came from one certain pin in that one campaign. So it's really useful to see what's working, and then next year you'll know what to do.
Gotcha. And I know you're really good at this too. And so when you sit down to make a campaign for like a client, you go ahead, okay, I want to have, this is our main focus. I want to, let's say for the flower shop, they're just wanting to build up a subscriptions to their newsletter list, okay? And so you set up a campaign, you plan out all the pins. Do you go ahead and think of, when you're making that plan or that initial plan, the UTM tracking codes you're going to use for all that pins, and then go and set it up, or do you filter it out as you go along, or what's kind of your process on setting up a campaign like that?
Well, I think it kind of happens organically, and you think about the campaign name will come to you pretty easily, right? Mm-hmm. So signups for May, let's say that, and then the medium, obviously Pinterest, and then the source. You figure out whatever is going to be the easiest way for you to track what is working.
Gotcha. And you made a good point there. Is when you're setting up your campaign, to go ahead and set up those UTM codes to track monthly, because you know that, okay, this is how many I got from May, this is how many I got from June. I think a lot of times people are scared to get too specific on those tracking codes. They get too general, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to drill down and say, oh, these are all from May. You could even go and test color. I tested all these colors of pins. These work better for my audience, or that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's a great idea.
Make sure that if you're building these campaigns, to go ahead and set them out and be granular and specific, I think would help a lot. So
yeah, and if you need a spreadsheet to keep track of it, by all means, use whatever you need to, because it can get a little confusing.
Right, that's a good point. So SEO is important for lead generation, and I think you and I both agree that we kind of feel that Pinterest is more of a search engine than a social network. So what are some tips for SEO that will help with lead generation? Like, do you do a lot of keyword optimizations with your when you start planning your campaigns and when you're trying to get leads?
Well, yeah, I mean, it starts back with the content that you're going to be promoting. So definitely on Pinterest, use the keywords in the same way that you would when you're creating the content. Keeping in mind what we said before, that Pinterest is actually smarter than just keywords, so make sure that your images relate as well. And then when you're writing your pin descriptions, keep in mind that people are really looking for how to do it yourself, things that will help them improve their lives. So when you're making a call to action in the description, try to capitalize on that.
So, like, give me an example for a call to action, like for your smoothies. I mean, how do you solve a problem for somebody when you're writing a description for a smoothie?
Okay, so if you had inflammation is a big topic right now. Dealing with chronic inflammation, people are realizing how many health problems it really can cause. So that's just a huge topic right now on Pinterest. So if we were to do, say, a blog post about inflammation and feature a smoothie recipe, we would write something like how to improve your chronic inflammation problem with this delicious smoothie.
Gotcha.
Something like that.
So you kind of hit all the keywords in there in that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it shows them exactly what they're going to get, and that they can actually take action now.
Gotcha.
Like Cynthia Sanchez always says, don't just pin it, do it. And that's what people want to do. So show them what they can do with your pin.
Right, exactly. Solve a pain point for them in your description.
And isn't that's what content marketing is, really?
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, good point. Now, do you test different like when you're making your pins that you're going to test for a campaign, do you test out different keywords or little SEO stuff between those, or are you mainly trying to see which image works best, or how do you kind of test this, or do you already have an idea what's going to work with SEO for Pinterest?
Well, I mean, we have an idea because we know we look at what people are already pinning and repinning, so we kind of go by that. And I should do more A/B testing on this, but I don't.
Well, another thing, and I think Cynthia or Peg Fitzpatrick suggested this, is go into the most popular pins, you know, because you can go see those just by clicking on them in the Pinterest dashboard and see what's working, and you know, see, oh, those are trending right now. I could kind of see a pattern there, and then base your pins and images kind of off that. That's kind of it's almost like, and you can also do the same thing in search. You know how in Google you can type in a couple words and then it'll autofill some of the other stuff out. You can kind of do the same thing on Pinterest and see what's going to come up.
Oh yeah, and even in your own feed, now that we have Smart Feed, we can see what's kind of making its way towards the top and emulate that as well.
Gotcha. Well, here's a question I wanted to bring up from. I asked a question because I said, hey, Alisa's going to be on again. You may want to ask them some questions. And so they did in the Pin Chat group on Facebook. And Martin Bierman asked this question. How do you generate leads through Pinterest for business selling services like insurance companies or law companies? How can they generate leads to increase conversions? What say you?
What say I? I say that is a little bit of a challenge. So you need to get more creative, but it's really going to go back to your blogging and your content strategy. So are you creating content that helps a person to help themselves? Because a Pinterest user is pretty motivated. So if you do that, there's going to be a market on it for Pinterest. So you have to think a little bit outside the box to promoting the lifestyle instead of the product or service that you're selling.
Good point. Well, that ties into the next question, and this is from Kelly Lieberman. She goes, how would a service business, you know, like Martin said, like an insurance company or something, you know, let's say a lawn care company, can generate leads on Pinterest? You know, what if they have no e-commerce? Because a lot of times we think Pinterest, you know, drives back to a sale. You know, here's a product pin, and it drives back to sale. And I think you kind of talked about a little bit about, you know, the blogs and the, you know, solving a problem that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got two issues there. You have a service business and you have a local business. Local businesses are a challenge on Pinterest, but it can be done. So let's go back to the service business challenge. They are selling a service, but they're promoting a certain lifestyle. So with your lawn care company, you think about what the person is concerned about. They're concerned about their house, their yard. They're probably busy people because they're hiring someone to mow their lawn instead of doing it themselves. Right. So start creating that lifestyle of your imaginary client, and then consider that in your content planning and your presentation of your content. So then you would try to make really good use of the captions on your images so that you don't attract the wrong person. For instance, if you had a blog post, like if you're a carpet cleaner, and you had a blog post on how to get muddy footprints out of your carpet, which, let me tell you, is a current concern for me. He wouldn't show a gorgeous living room with a white carpet with beautiful decorations because people will pin or click thinking, oh, I can find out where to get that cushion or that sofa. It's because they're drawn to the decor. So you would show instead maybe the muddy footprints, or you would add a caption with a blog title, how to get rid of muddy footprints from your carpet. And then make sure that your blog post has a strong call to action that would lead to a lead generation opportunity once you get them to the blog post.
Well, very good point. Very good point. What do you let's say when they go back to your blog post, do you like to have that? And this is, I know there's huge controversy. Do you like to have that lead capture stuff right there at the front? Do you like to put it at the bottom of the blog article? Where is the best place that you've seen for that lead generation, you know, kind of grab to happen?
I like to have something always at the bottom, sometimes in the middle, but I don't like to hit them with that the first thing. I want to give them what they really came for, so they don't feel like they just got a bait and switch. Gotcha.
What about pop-ups? Do you like pop-ups when they, you know, there's now ones on a timer where it's like, okay, you're reading it. Oh, there it is. You know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know they're effective, but I don't know.
personally, as a website visitor, I don't really like them myself, but I know they work. I've heard case study after case study that they do work.
Yeah. My advice is remember mobile, because nothing makes me madder than looking at something on mobile and I can't click off your pop-up. It's not formatted right. That drives me nuts. I will leave and never buy stuff from you again.
Whoa! I mean, how to make Jeff C. really mad.
Well, I mean, it's really. I mean, oh my gosh, because Pinterest, we know 80% of traffic is coming from mobile devices, and if I click back to your link from your blog article and it's got a pop-up where I can't read your article, then I'm leaving. I mean, it drives me bonkers. But
that is a great point. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up a real quick comment from our friend Kim Vid. She says, "Hey, call to action for a smoothie. Alisa Meredith shares her inside secrets with keyword descriptions that take action. Loving this chat, Jeff C. Wish we all had time for more A/B testing." Big hello to both. That is very true. We all wish we had more time for that. Thanks, Kim, for stopping by.
Hi, Kim. Yeah, and I want to address the rest of Kelly's question about the local businesses too, because I feel like I kind of skimmed over that. For Overgrow Studio, the social media evangelizer over there, and we have a client who is like a lawn company, like kind of like you mentioned. But if you can become a resource for your local community, so I just created a board for parks in the local area, and I'm noticing that board is starting to attract followers. So I'm not getting a ton of, they just followed all of your account, they followed this board. So if you think about everything that matters to your perfect customer, not just what matters related to your product. So if you ran a gym, you wouldn't just post about working out in gyms, you would think about, okay, what local restaurants have healthy foods? So pin those, add the place to them. What parks have good running trails? Pin those, make sure you add the address that you can in Foursquare. And then when you share your pins that link to a lead generation opportunity, you're going to get more local leads who might actually be qualified to buy from you. Because the problem, the challenge with the local business, right, is that you're going to get a lot of unqualified leads.
Right.
But I think having more of a local focus on your boards is going to help that a bit.
That's one thing I hope happens with promoted pins, is that they allow for a little more drill down on.
Oh, you can.
Oh, yeah, they open it up more. I mean, can you, how much can you drill down for like local companies?
Oh well, I guess what I'm thinking you can, because this company is in a fairly major metropolitan area.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're lucky enough to be in one of those areas, you can drill down right into your local area, but I'm sure they're going to make it better, like you said.
Right, yeah, because I really want like stuff like Facebook, where you can go, a city and 15 miles or 25 miles. I think I would really like that for promoted pins, because I think it'd make a big difference.
Oh, it will, yeah.
Now, I know Easter's coming up, so do you factor into like seasons or holidays when you start thinking about lead generation?
Yes.
I don't know if you think of like smoothies for Easter. I don't know how that works, but how do you tie into that without looking spammy? Because a lot of times you'll see those lead generation things, and it's like it has nothing to do with this holiday, but it's blatantly obvious they're trying to cash in on that holiday's traffic.
Well, this, I think, is where your buddy Wade Harmon could really help a lot, because it's about the psychology of it. So this particular client with the smoothies is actually, he's a nutritional counselor and a pharmacist, so there's a lot more that we can talk about than just smoothies. So obviously, starting around January 1st, everyone decides they're going to lose weight, they're going to change their lives. So you can definitely plan to have a campaign at that time that will capitalize on that interest. And it's the same thing for back to school time, bathing suit season, summertime. You just think about, okay, what are people really thinking about right now, and how can I capitalize on that? How can I be ready for it?
Gotcha. Good. That's good advice. I want to pull up one more comment from my buddy Dustin Stout. He goes, "Good point about mobile, Jeff C. Since you're talking about Pinterest, and most users are mobile, it's imperative to make sure you never ever use pop-ups. Take that into consideration." So he is kind of agreeing with me. Yes, be wary of the pop-ups, especially on mobile. One of the things I wanted to ask you also is, let's say you have a great pinnable image that goes viral, but if it links back to content that does not convert, it really doesn't matter.
That's right.
So what are your tips for getting people to sign up for your offer or convert on your offer's landing page?
Well, I think one of the biggest missed opportunities is the submit button. So that is like the last step a person takes before they commit to being on your email list and getting this offer. So if you use, I mean, you could use a word like start now, get yours. It adds to the excitement and tells more about what they're going to get as opposed to the word submit, which has a bit of a negative connotation.
Right.
I mean, why give people another reason to hesitate? You know, do I really want to submit?
Right. 50 Shades of Sign Up Now.
Yeah, that's right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And then really make sure that the page itself tells people what they're going to get and what it will do for them, which that sounds so super basic, but I think when you have created the content, you know why they should have it and why they're going to love it. So it's sometimes hard to step back from it and get an objective view and present that in a way that makes it sound appealing. It's a lot harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing that I really like to do, if it's available, is if someone has downloaded it and sent you an email or a tweet and said, I really love this, it was really useful, put that right on the landing page, a little testimonial just for your offer.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. One more, I want to get one more comment from Heart SD. She goes, hey, green smoothies for St. Patrick's Day, or maybe that should begin as smoothies. Yeah, I don't know if that sounds very good, but I think you should try it and see.
Oh, I mean, that's what I had for lunch today. It was wonderful.
Oh. So here's a question about group boards. Do you promote your product or service, like for a lead generation kind of a thing, on a group board, or is that considered spammy?
Well, I think you have to ask yourself two questions. One is it relevant? Two is it helpful? So if it really is truly just promotional, I think then the answer is no, and you don't pin it.
Gotcha. That's a pretty good litmus test to see. Do you when you're tracking your lead generation, what's working? Do you have specific tools that you use, or are you using Pinterest's own internal analytics?
I do use HubSpot. You can use Google Analytics, and I love Pinterest Analytics, but they are a little bit limited. So I appreciate the flexibility of HubSpot.
Gotcha. Well, I'm a big fan of Tailwind, so I use a lot of their stat stuff. So, do you have? Well, I mean, where do you go to for inspirations for like your pins for lead generation? I mean, do you just kind of go search a certain topic on Pinterest, or do you have like a go-to place that you always kind of go back and hit up all the time to get ideas from, or where do you get inspiration?
Well, a lot of times you can get it from what you pin that's not your own content that does really well. So, for example, for one of the Overgo Studio clients, we have a pin that I pinned less than 4 months ago, and it has 2,500 repins on it. So, I mean, obviously I can't ignore that. That's our audience telling us that this is the kind of content that they want.
Right.
And beyond just repins, it got 450 clicks just in the last month. So that tells me the audience wants more of that. Is there some way we can adapt the look of this, the subject of this, and the way it's presented for this client? And the answer was yes, and so we're producing it now, and hopefully we'll get something like that kind of action.
Gotcha. Let's say you're a small business, and a lot of times, like your smoothie thing, it's a link to, you get a free recipe booklet or whatever if you give an email address or something like that. Mm-hmm. What do you tell companies who are struggling with coming up with an offer? They don't, they may be like kind of in vapor lock going, I don't know what to offer to get an email address. What do I do? So what are some ideas that small businesses could use to create an offer?
Well, take a step back, because I can see the deer in the headlight look right now. I mean, but just think about your ideal client. It's a human being. It's a person. That person that's scary. So figure out what their challenges are, and give them a way to solve them. And if you can't do that yourself, then talk to a marketing agency. It can be worth it just to get that outside perspective with some experience behind it.
Great idea. The other thing I tell clients too is, what are the most common questions you're asked? what are your major, what are people asking you all the time that you can help solve? Maybe writing a white paper or something like that, where you can actually provide a service with this free downloadable whatever. So
yeah, that's a great one. And then like if they have a sales team, get that sales team to feed them those questions that they get when they make a sales call.
Right. Now you and I have talked offline a little bit about this, but I thought it was big enough news we ought to talk about it. Was you had some problems at first when you were doing a promoted pin, that it wasn't allowing it to link correctly to your lead generation page or your form, whatever. What's something that have you found out any more about that? Why it wasn't working, and what steps you can do to take to not have that happen?
Yeah, I read the rules.
There you go.
and the rules for promoted pins say that you can't link to strictly gated content, so it got rejected. So what I did was I tried another landing page that had more content on it itself, and it was approved. So I think that the key is that even if you are linking to a landing page, and then there's content gated behind that, as long as you provide some value on that landing page as well. So if you give some tips or maybe an excerpt of the offer, then it seems like it will get approved. I mean, who knows? It could be a fluke, but that was my experience.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been rejected for too many hashtags, so they're really trying to make them clean and make sure that you're doing them right. I have one more question or a comment from HeartSD. She goes, "Thanks for that question, Jeff C. I make one-of-a-kind products and cannot offer tutorials or do-it-yourself stuff." And she's talking about the product that we were saying. What kind of thing we offer to get a lead generation. And I think she makes jewelry, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, your questions that your clients ask, it might be even something like, how many hours it takes to do it, and how, maybe even something they could download, how to clean jewelry, or what's the best practices on cleaning jewelry, or something like that. And yeah, it kind of takes some stepping out of the box a little bit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you just don't slap a pin link to an email sign-up form, and there's actually a lot more to it than that. You just don't create a form on the website and then make a link back to it with a picture. What are some of your best practices for creating blogs or call to actions? I mean, you mentioned the submit button. What are some other best practices that you use?
Okay, well, if you have a campaign in mind with a certain focus, let's say you have an ebook or some kind of offer that's going to be as a condition of joining that list. You can, if you have an ebook that's say 30 pages long, you have a whole bunch of blog posts right there, right? So you can create images for each of those and pin those, and eventually it gets people back to that landing page as long as your calls to action are good on those blog posts too.
Very cool. Very cool. There's this new rumored promoted pins carousel feature that may be happening, that they may have multiple images that rotate, and I'm not really sure how exactly it works for promoted pins. Do you think that's a good idea for Pinterest to use? Are you excited to try it?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. As a marketer, I am, and I think that they've been really good about kind of preserving the user experience. So I don't think it's going to be obnoxious either. I'm anxious to see it. How about you?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's hard enough creating a good image for one thing, but if it's rotating, it's like, okay, how many do I have to make? That'll be interesting to find out. The other thing, we talked a little bit earlier about the buy it button. The only concern I have about that is I don't want it to become a big mall. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be, because some of it, there's links back on the pins to do it yourself stuff. Mm-hmm. There's recipes. I get a little nervous with the buy it button about having it just flooded. It's just a big, huge e-commerce site. That's the only concern I have. I don't think it'll be that way, but what do you think?
I don't think it's going to be that way either. I think, again, that Pinterest is really concerned with preserving our experience, and that's not just because they're nice people. It's because they don't want us to go away. Right. I think Pinterest is our happy place for a lot of us, and having it turn into a mall really doesn't support that. The other thing is, I don't think that if people don't like it, they're not going to pin it or repin it. So I don't think as long as they don't apply some kind of favorable algorithm thing to it. I think that if people like it, we'll see more of it. If they don't, we won't. But also, I mean, people aren't on there just to buy. They're there to explore. So not everything would really qualify for a buy it button. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about that one.
Yeah, they kind of monitor your stream anyway. I mean, that's what the whole smart feed is too. So they have ways to not have it just be buy it now. That was just somebody was concerned about that. I read on a blog post. Right, we're getting close to the end of the show, but I wanted to a couple things before we go to our last couple of questions. Number one, I wanted to invite you guys. Vincent Ng, Alisa, and I are giving away a free ticket to Social Media Marketing World. You have a chance to enter to win at visualsocialmediaconference.com. It's a conference we're going to put together for October. It's going to be awesome. We've got some great speakers already lined up. But go there and sign up for your chance to win a ticket to the Social Media Marketing World that's coming up at the end of March. So I'll put the link there in the comments later, but I wanted to say that before I forgot. So, I mean, both Alisa and I are excited about this conference. It's pretty awesome. So, do you have anything to say, Alisa? You just were nodding your head. Are you?
I'm nodding and thinking, and enter now because it ends on, I think it's Sunday at noon.
Yeah. So it's wrapping up really quick. So, last couple questions. What are some mistakes that we can learn from you when you first started using Pinterest, all those many moons ago?
Well, I created a lot of boards on the fly, and then forgot to go back and enter board descriptions for them. So at some point I had to go and just make sure they all had board descriptions. And yeah, and when I started, I had no idea what it was going to become for my business and for my clients either. So I really had no plan. It was just a free-for-all. So if you're starting now, make a plan. Or if you started without a plan, have a plan now.
Good point. And lastly, what are some advice for guys? This is mainly Pinterest show. The guys who are getting into Pinterest, what advice would you give them?
I would say take advantage of the fact that you can think like a dude.
That's right.
Because there are so many guys who are joining Pinterest right now. I think that the guy pinners I think this is their moment. So,
right. Yeah.
I think do it now. This is the time.
There's an opportunity out there. I saw it all those years ago. So, yeah, it's the fastest growing user group. It's more subscribers to Pinterest than GQ and Sports Illustrated combined, and so it's a huge market. Think like a dude, is what Alisa says.
Yeah.
But this is a time where we usually let you talk about you and your services, but you have an important announcement, and let me go ahead and bring your partner in crime into the broadcast as well. You're gonna have to unmute yourself, Kelly, too. So. We have. Go ahead and tell us what this is all about, Alisa.
Okay. This is Kelly Kranz of Overgo Studio, and she and I are launching a new podcast called The Superheroes of Marketing. And you can sign up now at superheroesofmarketing.com to get on our email list to be notified when it launches officially on Wednesday. We are very excited about this, and I know we've already have a show with Jeff on it, so you definitely want to hear it.
So, Kelly, what do you have to add? Why in the world would you partner with Alisa for this?
That's a good question.
It was this wild night, right?
Yeah.
Alisa's amazing. She's got great tips. We've been talking about it and like bantering back and forth about doing this, and then once the new year rolled around, she's like, "No, this is gonna happen. We're actually gonna do this. Do you mind if I just roll with it?" And I'm like, "Sure, roll with it." And she just took charge, got everything set up, and I've been along for the ride.
Awesome. And it's really good. Of course I'm on it, so that's like you can only go downhill from there. But but tell them some of your guests that you've already got scheduled and kind of in the can already.
Yeah, we started with Ralph and Carolyn Rivera of Web Search Social, and that was a really fun show. He has been on Skype with us, helping us with all those plugs and wires and crazy things that we didn't know anything about. And we had Vincent Ng. He was on to talk about Pinterest with us. We had Peg Fitzpatrick, who talked about using social media for a boring business, which I think is a great thing.
Awesome, yeah.
She was a lot of fun. And then we had you.
Right. So you've got also. I mean, it's a great podcast. Make sure that you guys go over to, and we'll put the link into the in the comments so you guys can go do that. Go ahead and sign up, get ready, and when they launch, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes because that is so important for them. It will help them up tremendously, and it is a great show. They've got great guests, and Alisa and Kelly are awesome. So make sure you guys head over there and do that. We are at the end of our show today. As always, I'd love for you guys to go over to manlypinteresttips.com, click on the sidebar, subscribe to the email community so you'll never miss one of these great shows because we are continuing to add testosterone one pin at a time. See you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.